Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben, and in this episode of the Smoking Hot Confessions BBQ podcast, we're chatting with John Austin, a pitmaster who's an active serviceman keeping us all safe, a barbecue business owner, and a TikTok star.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions BBQ podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
John, it's great to see you again, buddy. Welcome to the confessional.
G'day, Ben. How you going? Thank you very much for having me. A very gracious intro. TikTok star, like it.
Mate, you got to call it how you see it, don't you?
Exactly right. Thank you.
Now, I understand we've got a bit of a special thing happening today. You've actually got a cook happening right now in the background as we're recording this.
I do. I picked up a backside lamb shoulder. It's on the offset for my local butcher, Moe. So we're going to turn that into some lamb and potato pies, keen as mustard.
Oh, very nice. Are we able to have a quick little sneak peek into that offset there behind you?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go.
Cool. So if you listen to this a bit later on, John has sat down and he's got a Weber on one over one shoulder and an offset over the other shoulder, and he's just taking us across to have a look at the lamb that he's got in his offset. So this is going to be cool.
Yeah, with us 2 seconds. Just going to see if I can flip this camera. All right, getting it the old-fashioned way. Hopefully you can see that there.
Yep. Starting to get some nice colour on there.
Yeah, it's just the buck's just starting to form. It's only been on for about 45 minutes. I'm running it pretty hot, about 275 Fahrenheit, a little bit higher. Just got to catch tray down the bottom that's just got some Worcestershire sauce and some stock, and then we'll turn that into some gravy.
Very cool. Now, did you just say Worcestershire sauce?
I did. That's you understand if you've seen the TikTok video with Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. We're going to get to that a bit later on. Look, I just want to kick things off by saying, thank you for your service. You are an active serviceman. You are doing your part for all of us. Are you able to tell us a little bit about what it is that you do?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I've been in for just over 20 years, and strangely enough, my enlistment day was September 11, 2001. Just happened to join on that particular day. 7 years infantry, sort of frontline troop, and then for the last 13 years, I'm in the logistics space, so warehouse management, all that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit easier on the wife, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there'd be a lot of sort of sleepless nights avoided there in the logistics side, I'd imagine.
Yeah, much better than frontline.
Yeah. So that September 11 sign-up date, I mean, September 11 for us is a day before September 11 for the United States. So you'd actually technically signed up sort of before all that even happened.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think it happened, it was about 9:30 or 21:30 at night. And obviously I had already been to recruiting in that morning, and then it all happened.
How did you feel when you woke up the next morning?
I don't know. I didn't really think of it. Yeah, I didn't really think of it, to be perfectly honest. I didn't appreciate the gravity, I think, of the situation and where I was about to go in a few days, that's for sure.
So it was a matter of days.
Yeah, yep. Often you will sign on the dotted line and then you're gone that day. There was a delay for whatever reason, and I just got pushed back by a few days.
Oh, okay. So do you mean that you went to like a training camp in Australia, or they sent you straight over to Afghanistan or somewhere?
Yep. Sign my life away, so to speak, in the morning of, and then a few days later you go to Kapuk, and that's where you complete your basic training, and then you go from there.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, I understand. All right, so let's loop back to barbecue then. Tell me how barbecue started for you.
Okay, so probably like most people, started when I was a kid / teenager, and my dad had a gas barbecue, and probably once a week, it was just the typical sausages, minute steak, nothing fancy, just on the gas barbecue. So I guess you could say that's where it started. I purchased my own barbecue probably about a year after joining the army, so about 2002. Again, that was another gas barbecue. Had like a little awning thing, and we used to have all the guys would come over to have a few cheeky beverages and cook up barbecues, normal stuff, sausages and things like that. That was where it really kicked off for me. So about 2002, fast forward all the way through to about 2017, where it sort of links back into the army piece. And that's where I met Matt Logie from Smoking Sappers. And I just happened to be walking past him. I didn't know him at the time. And he was on Instagram doing the usual, barbecue porn stuff, just stalking. And I just stopped and I asked him what it was. And he said, "Oh yeah, this is my Instagram page. I do Smoking Sappers." And I just happened to be addicted to American Pitmasters, the TV show.
Yeah.
Yep. So it all sort of fell into line. I just basically grabbed him for about the first 2 weeks and just sucked the information out of him. He's just a wealth of information, and like anything, barbecue addiction hit me, and I would spend easy 3, 4, 5 hours a day just watching YouTube, and then I bought my first Weber, and it just steamrolled from there.
Yeah, right. That's quite an introduction, but I think a lot of us sort of did start off with Pitmasters there. It's still on, I think, binge at the moment. I think I've been going all the way back to the start, and I'm watching all the way from the start again. So
wow,
that's kind of interesting.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that's how you got into barbecue. It's at the start. You're into the Aussie style kind of grilling. And then you got your first Weber and you got into low and slow. What were some of your first adventures into low and slow? Were you good at it straight out of the gates, or was there a couple of bin meals there, or what happened?
There was very, very clearly. I remember it. So it was on my black Weber kettle, and I had got, I think it was a 3-pin beef ribs from the local butcher. And, thinking that I had sucked all the information out of Matt Logie and watched enough YouTubes, obviously I thought it was going to be amazing. And I got one of those little grates that you sort of have in the oven, like a little extender sort of thing. Yeah, like a wire thin grate. So I could stack heaps of ribs in. Invited guys around from work and said, "Look, we're going to have beef ribs at my house." 4 hours in, they were still quite raw because they were almost touching. They were just stacked on top of each other, and I didn't allow for it. Maybe 8-10 hours later, I just had to serve them up, and they were quite dry. And they all said they liked it, but I know deep down they weren't that crash hot. So that was my first cook, and I remember it vividly.
Mate, I think after 8 to 10 hours of having bevies, they wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, exactly right. And they're hooking into.
Yeah. And so then how did you then get into competition barbecue?
So I haven't gone full steam into competition barbecue. I've helped a few teams over the years, but my first outing was actually at Port Mac. So I was quietly crapping myself because obviously I knew the enormity of Port Mac, and a team
Port
with
Mac is
2
huge,
members down. Exactly right. And I'd been there before, just as a punter, just going around talking to some of the barbecue guys that I knew, down from Country Boys, etc. And one of the teams said, "Hey, do you want to come and fill in?" I said, "I've got barbecue experience, but no comp barbecue." And they're like, "Yeah, you'll be right." And they handed me the land.
Right.
We ended up middle of the pack, so I thought that was okay.
Was that with Sappers?
No, it wasn't. I've got a memory like a sieve on a submarine. I've got the shirt sitting in my cupboard. Can't remember the name. I'm terrible.
Okay, no worries. That's all right.
Yeah, it was the first time I met you, actually. Remember? I think I saw you floating around and we had a quick chat.
2017. Yeah, I would have been there. I was competing there that year as part of a hybrid team with a couple of other fellas.
Yep.
Yeah, we ended up getting a couple of call outs. So
yeah, it was a solid year.
That was pretty good fun. It was good fun. Okay, so you met Matt with the Smoking Sappers. You've done a bit of stuff with them. Now, Smoking Sappers love to do a lot of work for the good of the community, and you're much the same. And I'm assuming that comes from that kind of the idea of serving something bigger than yourself. That comes from that's obviously what attracts you to the military, and so you're able to bring some of your barbecue into that as well. Tell us about some of the work that you've done. I understand you actually took barbecue into Afghanistan.
Well, I didn't take my own personal barbecue, but we procured one in Afghanistan. And normally it's very difficult to do any kind of your own cooking. There's tactical situations, etc. But we had the Gurkhas that were with us. They're Nepalese soldiers, and they will always eat food cooked over the fire, regardless of the situation. And obviously I was embedded with those guys, and they had a goat and maybe 3 chickens, and they were just in a cardboard box with holes randomly cut out. And I heard a sound, and it was as you would imagine, bah, kind of sound. And I asked them what was in there, and they said there's a goat, and they asked me to. I helped them slaughter it, and then we cooked it basically like a pig on the spit, that sort of that fashion. That was my foray into barbecuing into Afghanistan with the Gurkhas, the Nepalese soldiers. That was a real eye opener.
Wow. And so what sort of styles and flavors and flavor profiles do they use that's kind of maybe we haven't seen before over here?
Well, because of where we were, they couldn't get their traditional spices. So we literally just had salt and pepper that had just been imported, just your normal standard rock salt and pepper. And that's all we used. But I think it was just that experience of actually, the slaughtering of the animal and the way that they had a prayer for it, and just the whole situation, eating it with them and being with, people from another country was also amazing. And then you look at the situation that we're in, being in Afghanistan. So it's just that whole experience, which is something that I always remember.
Interesting. So what religious background were those Nepalese Gurkhas?
The specific, because he was sort of like you call him the section commander of that particular group. I'm not too 100% sure of the religious background, but basically they were saying a prayer before they took the life of that particular animal, being the goat. That was the first one that I helped him with. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, there's only the I know that the Islamic faith does that. But
yep.
I haven't heard of any others, and I wasn't aware that that Islam was big in Nepal. So that's why I was asking that question. Okay, so the Gurkhas from Nepal, they had their big kurkuris. Did they use the kurkuris to slice the goat and serve it?
Yep, absolutely.
Outstanding.
They use their knife for everything. You could ask them if you're in Australia and you gave them a beer, they'll pop the lid with it. Absolutely everything. It's a multi-use tool. It's amazing. You can have a knife, sort of yay big, and it can do absolutely anything.
Yeah, very cool. My grandfather used to tell me stories about the Gurkhas and their kurkuri, and my grandmother would always tell him to be quiet and not tell a child those things. But I've always been
don't scare the kids.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with them. So tell me about the chickens then. The goat was done similar to a whole hog. Tell us about the chickens.
Yep. Basically, the chicken was in the same fashion, the way that it all started, and then they cut it up into very, very small pieces, and they had it's almost like a wok. I don't know if they brought it with them or if they fashioned it while we're out there. I don't know, but it was essentially like a wok, and they just had 3 of the big river pebbles, and then they had the wok sitting on top, and they just had coals underneath, and that was put into the wok, so to speak, with the oil. And actually, they had chili. They had fresh chili. I don't know where they got that from, but they had fresh chili, and that was sort of getting mixed around. It was almost like a curry, I guess. That's sort of the best way I can sort of think of it.
Yeah, right. That's
and that was just like a little side dish. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh, okay. So the chicken was the side dish to the goat.
Yeah, exactly right. Because it cooked quicker. We started pretty much at the same time, and then that was obviously ready, and then the goat came later.
So meat side dishes for a meat main. I can get on board with that.
I was like, I'm happy with this.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. Now, something that just popped into my head now, and it's a complete. Yep. I'm not in the military, never been in the military, so I apologize if this is an annoying question. My understanding is that on the bases they build things like Costco's and all that sort of stuff into the bases for the servicemen to be able to come and grab stuff. Do you get much barbecue supplies through that?
Yeah, we're not that lucky as Australians. We do it a little tougher. That's definitely an American base. Not where I was. We're in a very forward operating base. It was a lot smaller. It's a lot more crude, just dust, and we obviously had protection and things like that. But definitely in some of the bigger American bases in the Middle East, they wouldn't have a Costco, but they would have takeaway and things. Yeah, obviously it takes years to get to that point. Sure. But they would have Hungry Jacks, Macca's, all that sort of stuff.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was an eye-opener. My first trip to Afghanistan, and then we had to pass through one of these bases to get to where we were going to go. And it was almost, you could argue, it was almost like this just a little town. There's probably thousands of people in there. It was unreal to see.
Yeah, I used to live in South Korea, and I spent a year living next to the army base in Seoul there. And there was probably 30,000 soldiers in that base there.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
So they had all their own internal shop systems and things like that. And I lived close enough that on a Sunday you could smell the charcoal, kind of the barbecues firing up. So That just made me think of that. Anyway, all right. So let's continue then. You also do barbecue cook-offs at work. That sounds interesting.
Yes. So we haven't this year, but we're ready and raring to go. So it started probably about 2 or so years ago, and it was from someone saw one of our Instagram videos or something like that, and they said, well, why don't we do something like this where we're all cooking in front of each other, and there's like 5 of us. I said, well, let's just make it like a Master Chef or American Pit Masters kind of thing. So we obviously, smashed out all the work on the from Monday to Thursday, so we had a lot more time available on the Friday, and then whoever was competing essentially got the day off to cook. As long as everyone was done by 12, and we'd have a panel of other soldiers. We'd all sit around and have our little voting cards, and then we'd vote. And it got to, after about a 6-week period, we had a trophy or a plaque, and then the winner of that particular period would get the name put on, and we'd have a few drinks and stuff like that. So it was actually really cool. Got everyone involved. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And was that in country, or was that here in Australia?
That was here in Australia. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So you can only imagine, we're obviously on base, and like for me, my particular week when I competed, I was doing pulled pork. So I took my Weber Smoky Mountain down, and the smoke and the pork smell was obviously wafting through the unit, and I'd be randomly getting people, every 10, 15 minutes going, what on earth is that?
And you're like, hey, it's would you like to be a barbecue judge? Have a seat over here.
Yeah, exactly right. 12 o'clock, you're gonna get pulled pork burgers.
Very nice, yeah. So the winner gets a name on a plaque. What does the loser get? Is it like a 12-kilometer run with pack and gear, or what is it?
Well, no, but that's a good suggestion. I'm a little older and a little bigger than I was a few years ago, so maybe I won't take that.
Oh, well, you can be head judge. You can just be organising the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. I'll manage. I'll oversee everyone. I'll just, you're doing good. That's fine. Go from there.
Excellent. Nice work. But you've actually gone even further than that, haven't you? And you've actually taken a bunch of barbecues out to Central Australia, and you've done some work out there. Tell us about that now.
Yep. So there's an assistance program called AussieQ, and it's essentially once a year. One of the engineer units in the Army goes out to an Aboriginal community. It could be anywhere in Australia. It's obviously up to where the government picks, and they've essentially, those particular communities, they send the message through to the government saying, hey, we need assistance. It might be, we need new roads, a school, community house, whatever the case may be. And in this particular year, I was lucky enough to go with my particular group. So there's about 100 of us. We were there for about 5 or 6 months. And I decided, well, if I'm going in there for that long, there's no way I'm not going to be able to cook my own food or have a barbecue. So on the truck that had all of our group's gear on it, offset smoker, 2 Weber kettles.
Beautiful. And so what did you do with them out there?
Okay, so for me specifically, I was in a very small group. So the other 90-odd guys and girls, they separated. And they were doing their engineer piece. So they were doing the roads, and they were building a community house. And I was probably 800 kilometers for them. So I was sort of in between, I guess, between Adelaide and where they were in Yalata. So I could get provisions to where I was and then push them back out to them without having a massive, length of time to cover. So we were basically fending for ourselves. Luckily, I had the offset and I had the kettles. So every week we'd go for the big long drive into Adelaide. We would get all the meat, etc., from Costco. Come back, and we would just literally cook. As long if we had the time, we'd cook, as you can imagine, rib, pulled pork, brisket, jalapeno poppers, fish, absolutely everything. We just spent cooking for ourselves. That's fantastic.
Yeah, right. Nice. Were you able to get any kind of indigenous meats or indigenous flavors sort of incorporated in that while you're out there helping that community?
I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because towards the end of this trip, we sort of squirreled array of pulled pork or bossum butts over a period of about 4 or 5 months with a premise that would take the offset smoker down to where the rest of the guys was and cook for everyone. And when I got there, the community heard that I was coming and I was cooking with wood fire and stuff. And obviously it was unusual because they never had seen any of the Army guys had done. They just had the normal gas cookers. That's what the cooks were using. So I got gifted a piece of kangaroo. I don't know what part it was. I'd like to think it was the fillet. I wasn't sure, but it certainly looked like it. And I basically just seared it. I just seared it with salt and pepper, medium rare, so it's about 130 Fahrenheit, 55 C from memory. And I just sliced it up. I gave one of the elders some of the kangaroo meat, and then I just shared it around with the lads that was there. So yeah, that was actually really cool because they had just killed that kangaroo. It would have been that morning, so it was pretty awesome experience.
Yeah, right. And how did it taste?
It was amazing. Of course, I cooked it.
Oh, naturally. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. It tastes like any other kangaroo I had. To be perfectly honest, it was. But I like the tenderness was good. It had a little bit of char because I was using ironbark at the time. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm intrigued to sort of learn as much as I can about some indigenous proteins and some indigenous flavor profiles because they've been cooking meat over fire for 250,000 years, kind of thing. So I think that there's a lot of knowledge there that
100%
often gets sort of overlooked, I guess.
I agree, and I wish I had the foresight and time. Because I was only in there for a day, and then I had to come back, and then I'd only be there for a day, every week or so. That I could have asked, what's some natural ingredients like lemon myrtle, whatever the case may be, that I could actually season the meat with. And I know they were cooking kangaroo tails, sort of ad hoc out there. So I wish I had been able to do something like that. It would have been amazing to bring that knowledge back.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Look, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, folks, winter is coming. It's almost here. You wouldn't know it today here on the Gold Coast because it is incredibly hot. But look, it is coming. And so we have some great gear for you available over in the Smoking Hot Confessions shop. We've got our hoodies. You can see with Hail Mary there on the back. She's been awarded the 2021 Barbecue Apparel of the Year award over at the NBBQA conference over in Kansas City. So she's available. She's on our hoodies. She's on our T-shirts. We've got some beautiful, nice, big, thick beanies there to keep you warm. And we've also got our fantastic tumblers here that keep your hot drinks hot, and in summertime they keep your cold drinks cold. So if you're going to be looking forward to spending some cold nights out by the offset smoker tending the fire, grab yourself some cold weather gear and have a good time.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
Alrighty, John, let's talk AussieQ. Now I can see it on your shirt there. It's your
Yep.
It's your business. It's something that you've built up. So tell me, how did all that start?
So for me, I might have gone around it maybe a little bit different than a traditional small business. I was in the social media space. I said that was probably around the same time that I met Matt Logan, so about 2017, just taking photos, videos, etc. on Instagram of just everything I was cooking, and I was just bombarding socials, and it just built from there. And then fast forward to would have been end of 2019, started 2020. So I was meant to be deploying to Afghanistan, and by that stage I had a TikTok account and had done about 4 months of lead up training to go to Afghanistan. And literally the last 2 days, there was about 7 of us. For operational reasons that had to be removed. They just essentially cut those spots. And after intense training for 4 months, you can imagine I was a little bit upset. And my wife, Anne-Marie, was consoling me. She said, "Well, you've had these barbecue rubs, these recipes in your head for probably about a year or so. I'd been constantly talking about it. That was the long distance dream that I would love to be able to, capitalize on that." She said, "Well, now you're back at home. You're going to be here for at least X amount of years. Why don't you start it?" And then I just went hammer and tong like all barbecue addictions. Just spent night after night just refining the recipe. And then the way I wanted to do it a little bit differently, I wanted to involve the community because I had done that social media stuff for so long before that. All I did was, whether it be videos or photos, I'd be talking, chatting with community members, etc. So I sent out samples to everyone in the world, some of the more expert barbecue guys and girls, to get their feedback, got it back, and they had an electronic poll. So I got everything together and I tweaked the recipe until I was happy with it. And that's sort of where the barbecue rub part of it all started. And then we can keep going from there, but there's obviously that's just the footstone to it all.
Yeah, so you're obviously really serious about it there. Like most people just kind of give it out to friends and ask for feedback, but you actually set up an electronic survey and sent it out to people.
I've got, I have a bit of an addictive personality. Once I start something, that's it. I'm just going to focus everything on it. And yeah, like I said, the addiction comes into it a bit because it's probably what it was. And it still is to this day.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So tell me about the public response and the growth that you've experienced.
Yep. So I started, TikTok, I'd say, is the thing that sort of is interwoven between all of it. That's where it's all driven from. And that's, I guess, where a lot of the growth's come from. It's sort of, it's fed into the Instagram and to the website, et cetera, from there. And I started that from a dare from my daughter. And she said, look, I want you to come and do it. The traditional dancing video, what everyone thinks TikTok's about. And I said, there's no way in hell that's happening. It ended up happening. 3 months later, I decided, all right, I'm going to start uploading some barbecue stuff because I didn't see an awful lot on TikTok. That steamrolled, and then, 5,000 followers, 10,000, just kept growing and growing and growing. And then next minute, it was 100,000. And by that stage, Gordon Ramsay, there's a feature called Duet where essentially it's almost like what you see on the podcast. They see one of your videos and they can do commentary on that particular video. And that was I guess, almost like catalyst to then transport from 100 and then just went skyrocketing to 176,000. And then from that whole time that this TikTok was going, I was getting constant messages and emails, etc., saying, because they had seen me use a particular kind of seasoning, but they didn't know what it was. And I was like, well, I just happen to have a website. This is where you go, and the traffic just feeds itself from there.
Mate, that's awesome. So how many followers are you up to now on TikTok?
176,000 as of this morning.
Oh, as of this morning. Sorry. Yep. Sorry. I thought that was a previous number. Right. That's awesome. 176,000.
I'm pretty chuffed for that for a 40-year-old guy on TikTok. I think that's okay.
What does that translate to in terms of like numbers of views and traffic to your website? Yep.
So views, like within each video, like any platform, it can be up and down. It just depends who's on there at the time. But so, for example, I might average 5 to 15,000 views per video, which I think is really good. And then I've had maybe 10 videos, which is viral. I consider viral between 1 and 3 million. And honestly, the one that hit 3 million was actually not too long ago. And I just, on a whim, decided to splice together maybe 8 to 10 barbecue clips, all of, between 0.5 and a second, and put a soundtrack to it, uploaded it, not thinking anything of it, woke up the next day and it had already hit 1 million.
Wow.
It was crazy. And then in terms of the traffic, like, because you can monitor that, because I've got a Shopify, that's how I manage the administration side of it. It's sitting at about 70 to 72% come from social media, and majority of that's all TikTok, straight into the website.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's huge. It's crazy. I'm not really trying. I'm just uploading myself, cooking and doing all the things I love to do. I'm not, haven't got like a marketing hat on it, etc. I'm sure it could be even higher if you did.
Yeah. Now, TikTok is a very international platform. So obviously that traffic through to your website, is that mostly Australian people, or are you seeing some of your shipments going overseas now as well?
So in terms of viewership or traffic, I'm probably about 65% to 70% is Australian, because of the way the algorithm works in TikTok, and that's probably one of my big attractions to it, especially as me when I'm consuming stuff. It tailors it to exactly what you want. So if you're from Australia, generally speaking, you'll see Australian things, and that's obviously where a lot of my viewership comes from. And then as a result of that, feeds into the website. So a good portion Australian, but I have had 5 or so orders, a couple from Canada, 2 from New Zealand, and 1 from America, but all from TikTok. Every single one of those 5.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. So tell me, let's get back to Gordon Ramsay here. Was he kind?
No, not at all. Just like how you'd see in the Hell's Kitchen shows, etc. My first video was a brisket cheeseburger pie. Now, I've been making these pies for years. I'm so proud of them. I love every time I eat them. Every time I give a pie to someone, they love them. But he decimated me on this video. And that's part of his character too. So I'd expect him to, but I mean, he really took to town on me. But I knew deep down how good it was. That was the first one anyway.
And despite all that, it's still helping you and it's driving traffic to your website and people are buying your rubs.
Yeah, exactly right. It's bringing more people to the community. And I'm like, yeah, if people have a laugh at my expense, I don't care. I'm pretty casual.
Yeah, yeah. And how about his other video? Was he nicer on the other one, or did he still tear you to bits?
Yeah, he didn't have the foot on the accelerator just as hard as the pie one, but that one was a deep fried fish. It wasn't on the barbecue, but it was a battered fish. And he owns I don't know, he owns fish and chip shops throughout the world. So you can imagine he was probably pretty skeptical. And it's as weird as it sounds, it's not gimmicky, but I love Vegemite on fish. I truly do. I think that's what got his attention. So I almost got forced into trying Vegemite and fish when I was 9 years old, but I've loved it ever since. But it's got to be battered. Battered fish and Vegemite does it for me, and that was in the video. And yeah, you can imagine he almost threw up when he saw the Vegemite.
So does the Vegemite get spread on top of the cooked batter, or does it get blended into the batter? And
on the batter.
It all gets...
Yeah, once it's fully cooked, that's, I guess, the seasoning, so to speak. But
really?
as you know, like with all the ridges and stuff, it can catch a lot of Vegemite. So you got to be very careful. Yeah. So I just put a very thin coat so it just touches the top of the ridges on the fish, and I love it.
Okay. Yeah, well, Vegemite has a lot of umami and stuff in it, so I guess that it makes sense from that point of view.
Yeah, so if you had quite an oily fish, I guess, if you're doing a battered fish, that would work quite well as well, because it could sort of stand up to the saltiness and the umami, the big flavour that you get from Vegemite.
Yeah, it sort of helps cut through some of that oily mouthfeel on it as well, which would be a welcome addition. Yep, interesting, yeah. So did you write back to him and say thanks for the feedback, and now you guys are like buds?
Yeah, of course, best mates. Yeah, I'm gonna have a beer with him later, but yeah. I went through the comments and stuff, but yeah, he's got, who knows, he's a worldwide star, hundreds of millions of followers, wouldn't even, blip on his radar. But, I'd like to say that he's now trying my pie recipe.
Yeah. I'll bet he has. I'll bet he has written it down and he's tried it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. So did you do something specifically to get his attention? Like, were you using a particular hashtag or something, or like, was there a strategy involved?
That's it. Well, yeah, it's a hashtag. So he has this thing where he duets people. It's obviously cooking videos. He duets them. That's one of his things besides his own cooking, etc. It's just called Ramsay Reacts, hashtag Ramsay Reacts. But when you click on the hashtag, I think it's into the millions of videos now. So the chance of him seeing it is 1 in a million. Like, it's very rare. So for me to get even one, let alone two, I think I'm extremely lucky. That's what a lot of people have DM'd me and said, yeah, are you actually mates with this guy? Like, what is going on? No, it's just pure luck, like absolute luck that he tears me apart.
Yeah, nice. So all this attention on TikTok, you got your duets with Gordon Ramsay and all that sort of stuff. Did all that happen before or after Plugapalooza? So, like, did that help you get into Plugapalooza?
No, so it was a bit of both. So the first duet, yes, that was before Sunrise, and the second one was only just recently. So yeah, I don't think they had any idea I was even on TikTok. Sunrise. So for Plugapalooza, that was actually started from my wife. I would turn the camera around, but she would absolutely slap that thing straight out of my hand. But she was the one that got me onto Sunrise, essentially, or got both of us onto Sunrise. So like anything you can imagine, it's extremely competitive. It's hard. That's right. It was for Father's Day, and she just filled out an online form, put some details in there, said some details about me, veteran owned, family owned business, et cetera. The producer, I think he sent me an email. And I thought, scam, because I didn't know that she had done this. I thought, this is a scam, as if Sunrise is going to contact me. And then I deleted it. They sent me another email, and then I said, okay, I'll just give my phone number, just see what happens. Had a call, and as a producer, and yeah, I think 2 days later, they're like, okay, you need to be ready. You're going to be on TV.
Wow.
That was a big step. Yeah, that was a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I'll bet. And so did they come to you, or did you have to go and meet them somewhere?
No, because of what was going on around the world at the time. I think, in the past, they might have come to the house, but no, it was all by Zoom call.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. It was much like what we're doing right now, except I was probably we're up to 1 a.m. before a 4 o'clock start, because I had an idea. I had the TV in the background, so I could put, the logo and all that sort of stuff. And trying to get the light balancing right. And then I was just rehearsing because I know I had a very finite amount of time. And, obviously they've got their own schedule. So we had a few hours sleep and had all the lights going up, had camping lights trying to reflect on the side of my face because the TV was so bright. And
Now that's pretty much literally like 15 seconds of fame right there. You had, what was it, 30 seconds on national television on a morning show. How nervous were you going into that?
I was, if I had to put on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say I was about a 6 out of 10 initially. But we had rehearsed this few lines and it wasn't too bad. But we thought it was in a week. We didn't realize it was actually going to be live. And then the producer hopped on and he goes, "Hey, just letting you know, we've got roughly, I think the figure is 2.4 million people watching Sunrise at the moment. You're going to be live. Sam Mack's going to talk to you. Then you've got 30 seconds. And we're like, eyes open, and I just gripped my wife's leg. Like, what? We're live? Okay. Don't swear.
Yeah, I'd imagine that you would have probably been on a delay button there, but that must have been intense. It was. Yeah. And so what were the outcomes of that for you? Did you see like a huge upturn in that? From that, I mean?
I underestimated it, to be honest. I thought, like, I knew, it's a big show, national television, all that sort of stuff. And we sold out within 6 minutes. Every seasoning that we had, gone.
Wow.
Disappeared. It sort of linked into that. It was kind of funny. I thought Do Not Disturb on my phone would stop all notifications, everything. I was wrong. And the whole time, it must have like literally 2 to 3 seconds delay because messages were popping up on my phone saying, "Oh my God, I can see you, you're live." And, orders were going ding, 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 and covering the screen where I was, talking with Sam Mack. So I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God," trying to act normal, like thinking that the phone's going to shut down because the notifications are just going crazy. So yeah, it was pretty nerve wracking, but all sold out, all within 7 minutes, I think it was.
Wow. And you said that they gave you, 48 hours notice? So you wouldn't have been able to get hold of your co-packer and tell them to double the order, like, in time?
Well, that's the other thing. We're fully family driven. So we have a kitchen that we go hire for the manufacturing piece. We package, hand sign, everything ourselves. So it was all up to us. And that was included in staying up late. So okay, we'll do a double batch, but it just wasn't enough.
Oh, wow. So did you take a whole bunch of back orders and then have to spend a week filling the back orders?
No, when they sold out, they sold out. But then it was just answering emails because I had the intent of going to work, but just late. And then I ended up ringing up my boss and said, "Can I take the day off, and I'll take it out of my book?" Because we've got so many emails going, "Hey, you've sold out of this, you've sold out of that. When you're back online?" So it was just sitting there for hours replying back to emails. And then, later that night, we went back to the kitchen and we had to go make another batch.
Man, that's so awesome. That's so good. I'm so happy for you. So,
thank you. Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've had 20 years now in the military. Your business is
yep.
I was going to say blowing up, but that's probably poor form. Your business is growing. It's growing rapidly.
It's going well.
It is. So, are you kind of approaching that balance point where you could retire from the military and go full-time barbecue, or is that not quite there yet?
Definitely getting towards that tipping point, 100%. And it's probably more just the hours I'm putting in. An average day, so I'm working 10 hours at work, then I come back, have really quick family time, and then we could be packing orders, shooting videos, editing, writing scripts. So it's just taking so much time up. I'm like, well, I can't do this forever. There's got to be that point where financially and, creatively speaking, I can actually make the full switch. So I'm crossing my fingers, hopefully by the end of the year. I've done 20 years in the Army. I think that's a good amount of time. I've served the country. I've done everything I had to do. So crossing everything that we can get to that point. Yeah, by the end of the year, that's the ultimate goal.
Wow. Well, I certainly look forward to seeing how that plays out for you. My fingers are definitely crossed that you can get there. I've got 2 more questions. One of them is, how do you balance active duty and running a business?
Mm-hmm. Do I balance it? That's a good question. Do I even balance it? I don't know. My wife probably says I don't. She's constantly saying that I'm a freak. She doesn't know how I do it. I guess I draw on my experience for 20 years. I'm a warrant officer in the army, so I'm supposed to have managerial skills, time management, etc., all that sort of stuff. So I'm just be able to basically switch my brain off as soon as I get leave the workspace, as long as there's nothing going on after hours. Come home, and it's somewhat regimented family time, and there's orders. We pack the orders. And my wife now is working with me to help shoot videos, etc. So it's just that playing that balancing game. Son's now 18, daughter's 14. They're self-sufficient. One's about to leave. So that in the family side of things, that's definitely freeing it up. And I don't know if I balance it well, but I think just being able to allocate blocks of time and then not go over that. So if it hits 2000 or 8 p.m., that's it. No more making videos or packing orders, because as you can imagine, you could be there to midnight, and then you start to burn out. So that's the way I go about it.
Yeah, I can personally vouch for the staying up to midnight part. I'm up till midnight every night.
And I'm just thinking of you being a teacher during the day, and then the podcast, the shooting, the making sure everything's good to go, the editing, talking to people, then the website, your Facebook. Insane.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. And much like yourself, It's a one-man show. Now, is your daughter in earshot?
No.
Does she listen to barbecue podcasts?
No, she doesn't.
Okay, so are you looking to cut her in on the profits, seeing as it was her idea for TikTok in the first place, and that's kind of sparked everything for you?
Maybe in the will. I have offered her though. She's got a very creative mind, So I've had said to her, hey, if you want to shoot packing videos, something like that, because it's something simple and that's something that any business can do, not just me, and she's definitely more than capable. I said, hey, if you want to do it, I'll give you a few dollars your way. So we'll wait and see. I've thrown the line out, so we'll see if she catches it.
Oh, well, you could just go the way of a lot of things in barbecue and, offer 2 bottles of rub or something and get her to make a video for you for some spice rub. And then she'll just walk
she'll just walk past the inventory area, because we've got a segregated room that no one's allowed to go into unless you're taking orders. She'll just walk past and go, well, I can pick like one of 100. What? Yeah. Come on, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So where do you go from here, man? Like, what's next?
That's a good thing. So I've got flavors floating around my head constantly, flavor profiles. I taste something, go, that's slightly different. And I've got 3 on the go, but I've got one that's really, really close. That's the next thing in terms of the seasoning. So that's loosely called chicken and chips. When I create the rubs, it's something I've always thought I want it to be an experience. I don't know if that sounds cliche, but the smell as well as the taste. I want someone to think, okay, I'm in Red Rooster, for argument's sake, eating a chicken and chips, because it's an Australian sort of thing. And all my rubs, say Oz Dirt, for example, I wanted to have that taste, smell, and feel that you're eating burger rings and there's like a fish and chip shop sort of in the background. So this chicken and chips, that's the next thing. And I'm on the precipice of where I'm happy with the recipe, and I know I can source enough ingredients to make bulk, and then I'm going to send it out to basically, the biggest fans, so to speak, the ones that I'm always communicating with, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, and obviously some of the pro guys and girls in the barbecue community, who they got some insane feedback. So that's sort of that's the next step, and that's where I'm heading. And probably within hopefully 3 to 4 months, that will be the short-term goal, to get that up and running.
Beautiful, man. That sounds absolutely fantastic. I look forward to seeing that all come together for you. Listen, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Alrighty, family, big shout out to those of you that are joining us today in the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community on Facebook. It's a great little group. It's a very family-friendly little corner of the internet. We'd love to have you. Everybody's welcome. We don't care where you come from. We don't care what you cook on. We don't care what your background is. Everybody's welcome. All the guff is left at the door. So if you're looking for a nice, friendly place to just hang out and talk about barbecue, the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community is it. And if you're looking to meet some people, some like-minded people, we've got almost 5,000 people in there now. So it's getting to be quite a large community. It's very supportive. As I said, the rubbish is left at the door. We just hang out and just talk about barbecue. So if you're not there yet, come along and join us, and you too could be a part of these recordings, as we do record these podcast episodes live in that Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community. So if you're not there yet, we'll see you there soon.
You're listening to the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with massive barbecue nerd Ben Arnott.
Now, John, I don't know if you realise this, but during the breaks, I can still see your camera in the green room on my screen here. And I just saw you do a mad dash up out of your chair over to the lamb in the offset behind you. Is everything okay?
Yeah, you just had to quickly throw another ironbark log on because the fire was starting to die down just a little bit.
Were you starting to get the alarms on your phone?
No, I just knew it'd been a little bit longer than I would have liked. And the temperature, I didn't drop too much. That's all right. But yeah, I was just thinking to myself, I hope you can't see me because you didn't see I actually spilled some of my drink on my top too.
Oh, that's okay. We all wear black shirts. That's why we wear black shirts.
Yeah. That's why they're black. Exactly right.
Exactly, yeah. They're barbecue shirts. We're going to be spilling sauces and all sorts of stuff on them.
Oh, yeah. All the good stuff.
Yeah. Alrighty, so it's the third part of the show now. It's the final segment, and it's the part where our guest gets to share some advice and tips for the listeners and the viewers. For the listeners and the viewers joining us live in the Facebook group for the recording, now's the time to start pumping those questions in. John's going to be giving us some TikTok tips. So, mate, I'm going to be quiet, if you can believe that, and I'm going to write some notes, and it's all over to you, sir.
Okay. Look, so we'll focus on the TikTok piece. Now, I'll kill two birds with one stone here. So I'll look at there's a lot of people out there that have either got a small business, they want to start a small business, or they're on the other side. They want to create barbecue content. They want to create brand deals, etc. And for me, and that's on both fronts because I've been doing the content creation stuff and the cooking stuff. TikTok has been, I've been able to leverage TikTok in a huge, huge way. Like I said before, most of my traffic to my store and through all my DMs and emails, etc., it all basically funnels from TikTok. And that's just me cooking things. I'm not trying hard. I have a marketing brain, etc. So my tips for that is if you have a small business, you want to start a small business, but you want to get into the social media space, have a look at TikTok. It's free. I think that's the craziest thing. You know, as long as you don't swear or do a nudie run or something like that, you literally can't lose. You pick up your phone and you could go, all right, I'm now, say you're a barbecue rub company. I'm now about to produce 1,000 bottles of rub. Why not do small snippets of that? Snippet all the way from, in the raw form through to the blended form of spice into the bottle. It's packaged. It's now ready for customers. That could be a 15-second video. And it's just a matter of you pressing and holding the button within the TikTok app. It's that simple. It's crazy. You could film a week's worth of videos in 15 minutes, arguably.
Wow.
So
okay.
that would be one of my biggest things. If you've got a small business, you want to start a small business in the food or barbecue space, get onto TikTok, just have a look. But taking a step back, I would say just to consume TikTok, create an account and then start looking at the cooking stuff that you're interested in or whatever your barbecue niche may be or what you want it to be. Because then the algorithm will learn that's what you want to see and you'll just see a lot of it. And you go, okay, well, this interests me, that style. You might not want to get in front of the camera where you're just shooting things that you're doing during the day. And people have a real interest in it, including myself. I could sit there for 20 minutes at night just watching people pack orders. They'll have a voiceover and they'll talk about this is the thing. This is the whatever going inside of a box. This is it wrapping over. It's just, it sounds really mundane, but people will like that. And for a small business, that's something that doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't take any capital, and it's dead simple to use. So that's my tip or something I would look at for the business side. And then, same when it comes to the content creation, if you're a barbecue guy or girl and you're super interested in getting your stuff out there, exactly the same format. It's dead simple. You can shoot yourself in stages, cooking it. You can put a voice over it. If you're that way inclined, get in front of the camera like me, make an idiot of yourself, doing army rolls on the ground. And I have legitimately done that. So don't go stalking that video, but it's that easy. It really is.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I've got a couple of questions here just based on those tips that you gave us there. Sure. You mentioned the idea of just holding the button down and just shooting a few little clips of yourself doing things like packing orders, as you said. Do you have to publish each little clip individually, or does it save to your phone and then you stitch it together and send it out?
Yeah. So if you've got the app open, the native camera inside of it has the ability of, you can either press and hold just like any normal when you're shooting video, and it'll record for as long as until you press the next button, so 15, 20 seconds. Or you can, as you're pressing it, it's recording it. So you might only want just that little snip, because it keeps people engaged too. The box opens, the bottles of rub or whatever go inside, like that. And then it all stitches it together within the app. And then from there, it's a matter of, you press one button. You can shorten that particular clip, because you might have you swearing at the end or, tripping over yourself, whatever it is. You just want to cut that bit down, and then you just let it play and you go, yeah, I'm happy with that. You can choose to put music over the top. It's all native to the app. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to export anything outside of the app. It's all done internally. And then if you're still a little bit nervous about it, you don't want to publish it, we just save it to your draft, and it just will save it within the app itself. And then later on, when you're confident enough, or you might be aligning it up with the product launch or a brand deal, etc., then you publish it at that particular time and put your couple of hashtags in there, a cheeky title, and you're good to go.
Interesting. Yeah. Now there's two interesting things that you just mentioned there, hashtags and titles. Can you just explain a bit about the importance of those two and how they work?
Yep. So the hashtags, just like any other social media platform, generally speaking, when you want to find something, say, how do I reverse steer a T-bone steak? Someone might have done this video, will have reverse steer, T-bone, hashtags, and then it will find all those videos that link in with those search terms. So if you want people to find your videos easier, they can obviously still find them, because the algorithm picks up what's actually in the video. It knows there's a steak in the video, but it's easier if you use hashtags. So that's why you use hashtags, so that people can find your video. And then the second part to that, being the title itself, that's the attention grabber. You might just have, this is how you reverse your steak, or you might have, the hook line, so to speak. You might say, this is the best reverse steak you've ever tried. Something that's going to grab someone's attention when they're flicking through the millions of different other videos, because you're essentially competing against them. That might be just that one little thing where it grabs their attention and draws them in.
Yeah, nice. I've noticed a couple of things because I've been looking at YouTube a bit more, and I've seen things like, don't do something until you watch this, or top 10 something for this, top 5 this for that. Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Exact same mindset.
Yeah. Is TikTok vertical or horizontal?
Vertical.
Okay, so
you can film. Yeah, so you can film horizontal like you would on YouTube, but obviously we'll have the black bars above and below. And for me personally, if I'm sitting there consuming this stuff, I'm watching videos, I generally will scroll past it, not thinking about it, because it doesn't fill the whole screen. It doesn't grab your attention. So if you do have, say, like yourself or others that are more on the YouTube space, but they want to get into that TikTok space, as long as you're filming far enough back, you can obviously just crop, and everything that's important to the video is in the middle, you can crop it out. So I just recently got a drone because I'm like a little kid, and I was thinking, how do I get this drone footage, because it looks insane. I'm above the smoke into my videos. I just did exactly that, because it's filming horizontally. I just cropped the middle out, and I just made sure that I centralized everything that I was filming on the drone, and I just cropped it out, and then bang, it fits vertically, it fits perfectly.
Beautiful. Okay. Now you had mentioned before about people can either be in front of the camera or not. They can do voiceovers or not. Have you found that that either one of those has a particularly better response on TikTok? Do people respond better if they see your face on the camera?
Look, I'm going to sit on the fence here, because I've had videos where I have a voiceover and they do insanely well, and then not do so well, and then vice versa with me in front of the camera. Maybe if I was 20 years older, probably me being in front of the camera would have helped a lot more. But if I had to lean slightly to one way, I'd say arguably being in front of the camera is quite engaging, because people can really connect to it. They can sort of, get to know you, so to speak, because I'd say most of my videos, I'm in front of the camera, whether I'm just talking army rolls across the grass, whatever the case may be. I'm generally in front of the camera. I think it's a bit more personable, but it's not going to hinder you if you don't want to jump in front of the camera. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Okay, I see. And so then my last question then is, do you find that TikTok is a better platform for people who are educational in their content or entertainment in their content? So for example, for me, I like to explain everything that I'm doing as I'm doing it when I make a cooking video. But as a result, I end up with an 18 or 22 minute cooking video which is already too long for YouTube and is never going to go onto TikTok. So
Yeah.
should you be focusing more on just showing some more of the food porn type stuff and less of the teaching, or where should you be aiming?
So for me, specifically, if I have the time, I like to do two versions. So I do one is the short, sharp, flashing between multiple stages of the cook, ASMR bits, the slicing, all that really hard and fast, comes out the gate, no more than 25 seconds. And then the other side, it'll be between 1 and 3 minutes, and that's the educational piece, because I think that's, for me personally, that's where I shine. And TikTok are very big on the educational stuff. I've had direct contact with them multiple times, and we had a campaign going where I worked with them for 4 months doing exactly that, food educational stuff. So they wanted me to talk over the top and describe the recipe and the techniques and stuff, because they're big on the educational stuff. So you can definitely do both.
Yeah, right. Super interesting. All right. Thank you so much for all those tips. I've got like a page of notes I've just taken down here. Look, that's a good point for us to start to start wrapping this up. So I'm going to throw it over to you. Give some thanks, give some praise, give some shout outs to people who've helped you out along the way, and tell everybody where they can get themselves some of this delicious AussieQ spice rub.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll start off with the thank you. So first and foremost, I'll thank my wife, Anne-Marie, who's just sitting off the camera, because obviously I don't want to,
Get
my head cut off. But no, but genuinely speaking, yes, she's, if it wasn't for her, if I wasn't able to leverage off her and get her advice and stuff like that, because, it can get quite stressful. So that's a big part of the situation. She's now, getting into the video making side of things. So that helps out a lot. My kids, Jalen, Summer, basically just giving me crap off camera, but that keeps me honest. And one of the, I guess, the biggest groups I'd like to thank is the community/family. And as you know, with Smoking Hot Confessions, without their support, their DMs, their emails, their messages, just them watching me make an idiot of myself on cooking videos on TikTok or Instagram, whatever it may be, without that, it just wouldn't exist. I wouldn't want to make educational videos because I would have no one to watch it. So that's the other huge part of the thank you. Now, where you can find me, so the website, www.aussieq.com.au. You can see everything on there. I've also got a blog section where I published a bunch of recipes, but that's more detailed and it's got videos and written, so you can hit print and you'll print the recipe out. And that's where you can obviously find the range of rubs. And in line with that, I have a newsletter, and that's where I have behind the scenes. And if there's any new products or samples, so if people want to try the new chicken and chips that's coming out, you have to subscribe, because I'm going to send those people the samples. They'll go first. If you want to catch me in the socials, TikTok, Aussie_Q, BBQ, Instagram's the same, Facebook, AussieQ, YouTube, AussieQ. So it's the same. If you type in AussieQ, BBQ on any of those platforms, you'll find me, no problems, and you'll see this mug.
Beautiful, mate. Well, look, thank you very much for your time, and enjoy that beautiful bit of lamb you got in the smoker there.
Can't wait. I really, really appreciate you having me on board. Long time listener. I listen to the podcast on the Apple Podcast app, so it's been absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to make these lamb and potato pies again.
There you have it, family. That was the amazing John Austin from AussieQ. What a story. What a story. And talk about being a forward thinker, getting ahead of the curve, jumping on TikTok, enlisting the teenage daughter to help out and get him started. I love that it's sort of brought his family together there as well. He was just talking about how his wife's involved, his daughter's involved, and his son as well. And that's really what barbecue is all about. So look, that is it for today. So just a quick reminder: do the likes and the shares and the things for us. And if you are on Spotify, they do now have a rating system. So throw us a 5-star there. We'd really appreciate it. And that is all from me. So until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.